Konnichiwa, Nihon Cricket Pod Yokoso. Welcome to the Japan Cricket Podcast. I am your host, Alan Kerr, and with me, as ever, is Mr. Todd Luckhurst, all the way from Melbourne. How are you, Toddy?
I'm good, thanks, Alan. Nice to be here and good to be recording another episode of the pod. It's been a few weeks since we did the last one, so good to be back.
Yeah, it's about a month. I'm still trying to decide whether this is the last episode of season five or the first episode of season six. I'm not sure it really matters to anyone other than me, um, but I do have to put the numbers in when I produce this thing. So I think we'll call this the last episode because we're still going over predominantly cricket, which I think counts as last year, last season at least in our books, and then from April 1st, we'll be into the new season. So I guess that's how we'll do it. But yeah, on the agenda today, we've got a little bit of chat about the men's recent series in Thailand. We're going to talk a little bit about the Japan Premier League, of which the draft is fast approaching. And then we've got a few updates around the Futures League, women's ACC Premier Cups, and one or two other bits and pieces. So should we just dive straight into it, Todd? Should we quickly get on a plane and visit Thailand?
Sounds good to me. So we had Japan. So as Alan said, the quadrangular T20 series in Thailand back on the 25th of February was Japan's first game against Thailand. Japan won that game. Japan made 157 for six, and Thailand got 120 for nine off their 20 overs. So Japan with the bat, Kendall Katawaki Fleming got 50, Abhishek Anand 43, Sabal got 19, Ibi Takahashi 7, Ben Ito Davis 17, Wataru Miyuchi 5, Charlie Hurricanes 10 for 157 for 6. And then in reply, Thailand managed to get to 120 for 9, with the bowling figures were Shoma Sugiya slated 2 for 29, Charlie Hurricanes 1 for 15, Benjamin Ito Davis 1 for 4, Makoto Taniyama 1 for 22, Ibi Takahashi 2 for 17, Kohei Kubota 1 for 14, and Declan Suzuki got 1 wicket for 9.
Yeah, decent performance that. I think we made a really good start with the bat, and then I think was that the game we fell in a heap? Was that the game that you turned it on and immediately saw 3 wickets in an over or something? Um, so yeah, we lost our way a little bit in the middle, and then I think Charlie and Ben managed to get us back up to a pretty decent total. We didn't really know at that stage what a good score was. It was I think it was the second game of the tournament. I could be wrong. It might have been the first game of the tournament, but they were playing on the same square that the recently completed Emerging Nations Women's Tournament had been played on. So even from day one, watching that game, it was very clear how much the ball was turning. Um, and I think a lot of the guys did say it was a bit like playing in Sano, and that it was probably a bit more consistent with bounce than sometimes we always have. But it was, I mean, I was watching Charlie bowl, and he was turning it square, like it was mad. And Charlie's not known as a big spinner of the ball, so I think getting in was a bit difficult. But once guys got in, they were able to figure it out. And having lost to Thailand last time we played them in the final of the Tri Series here a year ago, I think it was going into that game. It was good to have the minds focused by that result, and it was a pretty important game because, with all due respect to Bhutan, they were quite comfortably the lowest ranked team in the tournament. So going into that one, it did with Bahrain as very much the highest ranked team. It did feel like that game straight away was a bit of a playoff for the final. So to come out, put in a pretty good performance. I think with the ball, I think they made a few runs late, but I didn't feel like Thailand were ever really in it. I think we got a few wickets early and we're pretty well in control. There is a bit, there was a bit going on behind the scenes, which I can probably shed a bit of light on, just for comedy's sake. We had 2 days before the tournament was due to start, Isam Rahman called us up and said he's strained his hamstring and he's not sure if he can play, and a lot of discussions about whether or not we should replace him or send someone else out, or what to do, basically. When you've got a guy who usually bats in your top three or four and is handy for a few overs, it's quite difficult to replace like for like. So there was a bit of panic, and eventually, on the day that the guys flew, I managed to get in touch with Kiefer Yamamoto Lake, and he was available. And so I booked him a flight, and he went straight to the airport and jumped on the same flight as Shomo. You mentioned Sugaya Slater was there too. So very late minute call up for Kiefer, which took the squad up to 15. That same day, which was one of the reasons it became so important, the same day Abdul Samad got turned away at the airport because they said that he didn't have the correct visa, which it turned out he did have the correct visa. But unfortunately, it was a national holiday, so the Thai embassy wasn't open. And as a result, poor Samad couldn't do anything. So we ended up rebooking his flight, and he didn't fly out until the Wednesday. So added to that, Alex Shirai Patmore wasn't available for the first day because he had a work thing. He had to work remotely from Thailand that day. So we were down to about 12 players for the very first game. So quite a lot going on in the background for the coaches and for the players to have to manage. So to be able to come out again and put all that sort of distraction behind and actually put in a performance, pretty satisfying.
Yeah, no, it was good effort, I thought. Good score too. Looking at the scores for the tournament, 157 was probably a good score. I think Japan got 170 in a later game, but that looked like it was a bit hard to bat on. And yes, I need to apologise to Kendall. I did put the game on, and he went out the first ball that I started watching the game, and then Japan lost 3 wickets in the next 10 balls. So apologise to those batsmen that were batting. I did quickly turn it off, and Japan bowled well and won the game. So I made sure that I would only watch the highlights from then forward. So,
Well, Jan as
but
well. Um,
it's
but then I think it was that same day was the Bhutan Bahrain game. And I don't remember the exact score, but I know um, Bhutan batted first, and I think they were restricted to 90 odd. And then Bahrain chased it like six down or something. So I think that was something that kind of made everyone peak up a little bit and go, wow, okay, maybe Bahrain, who are ranked 27, 28, 29 at the start of the tournament, suddenly we're like, okay, they've gone from being, a highly ranked team that we'd have to be at our very, very best to beat to maybe being a bit closer to us than we might have realized. And I think when you go through the scorecard for the next game, it's that perhaps showed.
Yeah, so we'll go through the second game for Japan. So Japan played Bahrain, and Japan bowled beautifully, bowled Bahrain all out for 87. So with the ball, we had Kiefer Yamamoto Lake, 1 for 10, Charlie Harahins, 1 for 15, Ibi Takahashi, 2 for 16, Sabao, 2 for 12, Makoto Tamiyama, 2 for 14, and Ben Ito Davis, 2 for 12 also. So fantastic effort with the ball by Japan.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty satisfying. We got a wicket in the first over. I can't remember. You've got the scorecards there in front of you, Toddy. I mean, they were like 4 or 5 down for not very many. I think their opener hung around for a while, but they were very clearly in a lot of strife very early. And at that time, we were aware there'd been a low score in the second game the previous day, and they got up to 80 odd, and you're thinking, is that a good score or not? We weren't really sure. But then obviously the second innings happened, and that we got a pretty emphatic answer.
Yeah, they were 2 for 35, then 5 for 45 in 2 overs.
That's
So
right.
Japan really bowled well in that spell of 2 overs to pick up 4 wickets and kind of put the game to where it needed to be for Japan before they batted. And then Japan batted. Kendall Karawaki Fleming got one out in the second over, but then Abhishek Anand 37 off 17. Issam Rama got 34 off 15, and Charlie Harahins 12 off 7 balls to knock over the total of 88 in the seventh over.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, in all my time involved with the men's team, that is probably one of the most complete performances and emphatic victories over a side ranked considerably higher than us that I can think of. I mean, normally when you win games against teams that are supposedly quite a lot better, they're pretty tight. But that is an absolute wasting. There's no other way to put it. To bowl a team out for 80 and then chase it in 7 overs is ridiculous. So an incredible showing from the guys, and really like I think partly maybe Esam's injury actually helped him because I'm not sure he wanted to run that much, so he just came out and was immediately whacking the ball to all parts. And the great thing about that, of course, it meant that they'd won the group. They were going to finish top no matter what. And it meant that the game the next day against Bhutan was a bit of a free hit. and they could play with the pressure off. So really satisfying to see the guys go out and put in a win like that. And again, doing it with yeah, Kendall, like you said, didn't make any runs. So other guys stepping up, and I feel like with the bowl, what was it? I think you said four different players there picked up Tufa. So very very spread around as it often is with our spinners. And yeah, conditions that were good for us. We clearly adapted better on that day than Bahrain did.
Most definitely. Then we had Japan play Bhutan. Japan 170 for five. Beat Bhutan all out for 93 in the 19th over. With the bat, we had Kendall Kadawaki Fleming 34 of 29. Abhishek Anand 17 of 12. Sabal got two. Shirai Patmore got 43 of 43. Ibi Takahashi went in the end and went bananas. He got 54 of 22 with five fours and four sixes. And then Wataru Mochi 7 and Declan Suzuki 1.
Yeah, I think that was Ibi's first half century for Japan. So nice for him. And
Really?
geez, he was batting well. He was hitting it a long way. And I think that for the boys to just wrap it up, like 3 wins from three, really satisfying. I think that yeah, that was the highest score of the tournament. I think it was, wasn't it? So on a difficult pitch to bat on, as we said earlier, not always the easiest to get in, but the guys were able to cash in the ones that did, and Alex Shilai Patmore sort of held things together. Coming in, I think he came in at 4 or 5, and I think he came in at 4 in that game. And just anchored the innings really and let the other guys play around him. So 170 is a decent score, particularly on a ground where, as we said, the other teams are struggling to make 100. So yeah, pretty pleasing.
Yeah, good effort. And then good effort with the ball too. So Bhutan bowled all out for 93 in the 19th over. It was all Declan Suzuki with 5 for 20 off his four. And then Abdul Samad 2 for 6. Kohei Kubota 2 for 13. And Abhishek Anand 1 for 4.
Yeah, so again, career best figures for Declan Suzuki, and nice to see Kubal back in the team and back in the wickets as well. So yeah, I think at that point, everyone's feeling extremely confident about where we're going. A lot of our guys, from speaking to the guys, very different conditions from what they'd all been playing in. Obviously Australia's hot, but not as humid as it was in Thailand. It was very, very much humid season, and for the Japan guys coming straight out of winter, again, bit of a shock to the system to be in pretty high and pretty humid temperatures. But I think they were adapting pretty well, and I think that going into the tournament, we'd kind of looked at 3 wins out of 4 would be a really positive result. So to have got 3 wins out of 3 at this stage was, meant that we'd sort of ticked off that goal, and then it was just a case of putting the cherry on top. So moving into the final, we saw, Bhutan had lost all their games up at that stage, and Bahrain had done enough to get a win over Thailand, which I think was quite edgy actually. Thailand gave them a decent run for it. So that set up the final, which was as we kind of thought it might be, was us against Bahrain, and yeah, a bit of a seesaw, bit of a roller coaster game, this one.
Yeah, so the final was Japan versus Bahrain. Japan batted first 108 for 9. Kendall Kadawaki Fleming 6. Benjamin Ito Davis 13. Shirai Patmore 21. Sabao 20. Ibi Takahashi 19. And Declan Suzuki came in the ending, hit 22 off 13 balls to get to 108 for 9. It was, yeah, interesting early. Lost 2 wickets in the first over.
I think we were 16 for 4 and 25 for 5 from memory. So yeah, we were in all sorts of trouble. And it was a good partnership between, I want to say, Declan and, was it Pat, or who was it at the end? Just dragged ourselves up to 100 and
Declan
gave
Ibi.
us, was it Ibby? Gave us something to bowl at, from a position where we were in serious strife. I think Pat and Sabal both chipped in with sort of high teens. And I know their opening bowler, whose name escapes me,
Ali Dawood.
Ali Dawood. Yeah, I mean he looked good. He bowled well. He did
He
did
did
a couple of our
well.
guys for pace. I think he bowled. I think he got straight through both Eastham and Chan, Abhishek Anand. So yeah, handy player. And at 108, you're thinking, well, okay, they've struggled up until this point, but they were then in a position where they know what they've got to chase. And I do think we talk a lot that T20 cricket now, batting second, you know what you've got to do, and it's actually a little bit easier. We always used to be a team that liked batting first and putting the squeeze on, because we feel like we can do that with our spinners. So it's good that we've got that in our armory. But I think we saw in Oman that knowing what to do to chase, and particularly in that game against Kuwait where we chased 170, it does help gives you clarity of what you've got to do. And I think that we were really able to. We would have liked to have been able to have that, and I think that Bahrain, much like we had in the earlier game when we were only chasing 80 odd, they were able to go into it with a mindset of, okay, well, we know what we're going to do, and even if we get stuck, if we lose some early wickets, the run rate isn't never really going to get out of control. So we very much needed early wickets.
Definitely did. And those who don't know, Bahrain chasing 108, got 109, got 108. So it was a tied game at the end of the innings. So we'll go through the scorecard. They had it all this one. Uh, Bowling figures: Abdul Samad 2 for 20, Declan Suzuki 1 for 10, Ibi Takahashi 3 for 10, and Sabah Ravichandran 3 for 11. It was a seesaw affair, Alan, this innings, wasn't it? It was all over the place. There was,
Well, it was
we're
madness.
going to win, we're going to lose, we're going to win, we're going to lose, we're going to win. And then it's a super
Yeah,
over.
it's funny. I was even before this game, and even before this tournament, I was thinking I'd been watching a bit of the T20 World Cup, and T20 cricket is such a volatile sport in that literally one or two overs can completely change the game. One guy gets hold of a couple, one drop catch. I think I just watched, maybe we even spoke about it. I just watched the Pakistan Netherlands game where Netherlands were right on top, about to win that game, and then Max O'Dowd drops a catch, and the guy he drops then goes on and hits three sixes in the next like five balls or something, and suddenly the game goes from being in the bag for the Netherlands to gone. And I think we saw that in this game particularly. We struck twice in the first over, just like they did. I think the numbers 1 and 3 on both sides contributed 0 runs between them. So that's pretty dramatic stuff. And I think for us, those two wickets in the over from Samad, he bowled absolutely beautifully, and it put us in a really strong position. And I can't remember quite where it got to, but I think they were about 50 for 7, weren't they? Something like that.
They were, yeah, 57 for 7, and then 57 for 8,
Yeah,
15.3
right.
overs. Yeah.
So 57 for 8, and at that point you're thinking, wow, we've got this. We're gonna bowl them out. We're gonna win by 30 runs or so, and happy days. But didn't quite go that way, did it?
No, it didn't. It was compelling watching though, wasn't it? Like even in the 19th over, Ali Dawood 9 for 94, the last ball of the 19th over. And then they needed, 15 at the last over, and you're thinking, oh, should be able to defend this, and some good hitting, and then all of a sudden we were in a super over.
Yeah, they
So
needed. They got boundaries off the last two balls of the innings, didn't they, to take it to the super over. At which point you're a bit like, oh, geez, you felt that momentum had gone the other way. So at that point, just, I don't know. Obviously, it wasn't there. Don't know what the boys' plans were, but what I do know is that Sabarish couldn't bowl a super over because he'd been off the field, and Eastham couldn't bat because he'd been off the field. So Eastham was off the field because he was still nursing this injury, and Sabah had been sick the day before. And there was a lot of question marks around whether or not he'd even play. So that's why I think he came in down the order a little bit, came in at 7. And then when we were defending, he bowled his overs and then I think got off the field. But because he'd been off, it meant he wasn't eligible to bowl a super over. So don't know whether he would have done or not. But it just made that one less option, I guess. And then and the super over, of course, as we mentioned, those guys they've got momentum, and I can't remember exactly. They hit the first or the second ball for 6, and suddenly that momentum is really, really carrying. And what they made 14, 15 off the super over. And
yeah, 15 off their super over. So it's going to be tough, tough batting over for Japan. So Japan Needed 16 to win and could manage just 10. Kendall Carter Fleming got run out the second ball, so 1 for 5 and ended up the last ball 2 for 10. So unfortunately fell short, but
Yeah, six off the first ball. No, sorry, four off the first ball of our Super Over. It'd be played a good, delightful cover drive for four, and you're thinking, okay, all right. So now it's back to, 12 off five. It's feeling a little bit of confidence comes back, and then yeah, Kendall's run out the non-strikers end, and we needed six off the last ball, didn't we? I think of the
yeah,
Super Over, and didn't quite get the grandstand finish we were hoping for. So yeah, it's disappointing, and I think from speaking to all the boys, everybody felt that they were the best team at the tournament and they didn't quite manage to put it together. And it's frustrating that I wouldn't say becoming a habit, but obviously we lost the final to Thailand in this tournament here a year ago. Now we've lost the final of this tournament. Both times we felt we were the best team there and weren't able to get it done. And you can feel like you're the best team, but unless you get the result, it doesn't mean anything, right? So, um, it was enough to boost our ranking by another place. So I think the boys went up from 44 to 43, closed the gap on the teams above us. So hopefully some good results over the spring in Sano, and we can move that ranking up into the top 40 and keep that forward progression going. But overall, it was definitely a positive experience for the team and to get out and just to play some cricket together, because otherwise it would have been basically 6 months, um, before between games, between playing in Oman and playing the regional qualifier. And sometimes, obviously for this, it's just a standard bilateral series. There was nothing riding on it. There's no tournament qualification on the line. So it's just a case of playing and getting experience and trying to put people in pressure and situations which they don't necessarily get to practice. So I think all of that was really a job well done. A big thank you and credit to Thailand Cricket, who threw it all together at pretty short notice during a really, really busy time for them. And by all accounts, hosted really well. And despite the challenges with the pitch itself and the low scoring nature of the games, I think the everything else around the organisation and the hosting was, from what I'm told, pretty good. Um, Perhaps the showers in the hotel, I think the plumbing needs a bit of work there, but I won't blame Cricket Thailand for that.
we talk about playing as much cricket as we can, and just for some clarity, we went back and had a look at Bahrain because we were a bit amused, but we were trying to figure out how their ranking was so high, and they played 40 T20Is last year and won 33 of them. So they play
Mm.
a lot of cricket. And I think after this, because they couldn't go back to Bahrain, I think they've gone to Malaysia to play a series.
Yeah, they played Malaysia. I've got a feeling they beat them. I think they beat them 2-1 in the T20s and 3-0 in a 50 over series. So yeah, they're just, it's obviously, terrible situation in the Middle East right now, but they were able to make the most of their time and go and get some games in against Malaysia. I'm sure they're very grateful to Malaysia for hosting. I have no idea if they're home yet, but feels like a long time ago, that tour, doesn't it? But Bahrain's still possibly not actually home yet. So dread to think what it's costing the association in hotel bills, but at least they've got the upshot of playing some cricket.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. We're going to talk a bit about the EAP T20 EAP qualifiers that's coming up, Alan, in May in
Yeah, so it
Japan.
makes sense to segue straight into that. I think the announcement got a little bit accidentally made by Cricket Korea, who posted on their Facebook page about holding trials for the tournament that will take place in Sano at certain times. So some of our eager-eyed viewers, I think the Associate Chronicles and maybe a few other guys, picked up on that, and suddenly it was out that Japan were hosting this tournament. The reason we hadn't announced it earlier, and this is slightly ridiculous, and hopefully my friend at the ICC doesn't get me in trouble for this, or I get her in trouble. But she told me that the reason that they hadn't announced it yet, they didn't actually have a name for it. They didn't have a name for the tournament. And the reason they don't have a name for the tournament is because we still don't know what we're qualifying for. Is it a regional? Is it a sub-regional? Is it something else? Like, we don't know. And we still don't know. We don't know how many teams will go through, and we don't know what they will go through to. So we know we're qualifying for something. But yeah, I mean, the exciting thing is it's a 9-team tournament, which is the biggest that we've ever hosted in Japan, which is both exciting and a little bit scary. And we've got the whole region coming. So, and not only that, but we're deciding to host it between two venues in Sano and Nagoya. The new ground down in Nishin City in Aichi is being prepared as we speak, and this is a good opportunity to test it out prior to the Asian Games. So there will be 3 days of cricket down there. Two of the groups will go there first, and we'll have one group in Sano for the first 3 days, and then everybody will transfer up to Sano for the second week, and we'll have 3 games a day going on in Sano, the Super Six stage, and the 3 eliminated teams will play games on ground two. So yeah, with 9 teams, it's the old 3 groups of 3 format that we all love so much. And that means that the teams that are knocked out, at least we're not sending them home. They'll get to play some extra cricket over on ground two. Those will be T20Is, and it gives us a chance to put some umpires out there as well and get some more international experience for them. So that's no bad thing. But yeah, not having a tournament name and not having a tournament logo were the reasons why Japan hadn't actually been able to make the announcement yet. Still don't have a logo, by the way. And the name we're just going with is, I think, just sub-regional, because we're assuming that we're not qualifying directly for the World Cup. But we have no idea if we're qualifying for an Asia EAP qualifier again, or someone else, or a global qualifier, or what. So I've been assured that we should find that out, possibly even in March, and it is March. So I don't know. We're just sitting and waiting. There's not really a lot we can do about it. We'll just find out as and when. But you've got the groups there, Tolly. Do you want to go through the groups and some of the fixtures?
I do. So we've got Group 1, we've got Japan, Fiji, Vanuatu. Group 2, we've got Samoa, Philippines, and Indonesia. And Group 3, we've got Papua New Guinea, Cook Islands, and South Korea. So
And
the
it's groups
fixtures
one and
are
three. Sorry, just to cut you off. It's groups 1 and 3 that are down in Nagoya, and group 2 that'll be in Sano, right?
That's correct. So we've got the first games kick off on the 8th of May. We've got Philippines and Indonesia in Sano in the morning. Then we've got Fiji versus Vanuatu morning game and Cook Islands versus South Korea afternoon game, both down in Nagoya. Then on the Saturday, we've got Indonesia and Samoa morning game at Sano, and then morning game Japan versus Vanuatu, and afternoon game South Korea versus Papua New Guinea in Nagoya. And then on the 10th of May, the Sunday, we've got morning game Samoa versus Philippines in Sano, Japan versus Fiji, and Papua New Guinea versus Cook Island afternoon game in Nagoya. And then everyone will travel back, I'm guessing, on the 11th, and the next games will be from the 12th. So the 11th will be a rest day. So we've got morning and afternoon games all the way up to the 18th, except the 15th will be a rest day.
Yeah, so lots of cricket, isn't there? I think those 2 Japan games are both in the morning in Nagoya. I think it's anyone down in the area do come along and watch, because I think there's going to be a bit going on. The first bit of a shame that we're not playing the first game at the new ground, but we'll be playing the third game at the new ground. But first on the weekend, I know there's some school kids planned to be bussed over to see cricket for the first time, and I think there's going to be a bit of other stuff happening. So should be pretty exciting. Should be pretty a great opportunity just to see a new venue being opened up, and we still don't know what the long-term future of that ground looks like, but we know that it'll be there for this tournament, it'll be there for the Asian Games, so we won't look too far beyond that, but a bit of a sneak preview of what the Asian Games might be looking like. So yeah, I think it should be a pretty good tournament. Some pretty good teams. I think the way the seedings were done were that Japan, Samoa, and Papua New Guinea were given the 3 top seeds, having been the 3 qualifiers in the regional final. And then the next 6 was done off rankings, I believe. So it's kind of a slightly strange split, that they didn't feel that doing it off rankings entirely was necessarily fair, given that Samoa's ranking is still pretty low. But they'd obviously done well enough in the previous qualifier to get through. I'm just paraphrasing here. Don't quote. I'm not quoting the ICC on this, but I think that's my feeling. It was a slight tacit admission that perhaps the ranking system isn't perfect, and that Samoa, probably having made the regional final and got through to the Super Sixes in that regional final, probably deserved a shot at being seeded for this qualifier. So, we obviously don't know what the Samoan team will look like. They made a bit of a splash with players they included last time out. We don't know who's coming back yet. I reckon we're about 2 weeks out from finding out teams, or at least for teams being submitted to the ICC. Whether we find out about it, I don't know. But yeah, 30 days out is when teams are going to be submitted. So we will see exactly what the Samoan team looks like, and the others, of course.
Yeah, very exciting tournament. And if anyone is in Sano for those 3 days, me and Alan will be there, so we will be available for photos and autographs. So feel free to come down and see us at the ground for the morning games.
Absolutely. Don't come in the afternoon. Clocked off by then.
No,
Um, but yeah, look,
um,
it'll be a good tournament.
yeah, it'd be good fun. We want to have a chat about the JPL.
Well, before we get onto the JPL, probably just whilst we're on the international stuff, I think it's worth just a quick update that the ACC Women's Premier Cup has been postponed. We don't know for how long or what the future of that particular event looks like. Again, events in the Middle East making it very difficult for teams to travel, and we don't know. We believe that tournament was going to be hosted in Malaysia, but there would have been teams like Oman, UAE, for sure would have been participating in that. So I think they're just trying to work out, not to mention potential umpires who might have been flying from the Middle East to staff it. So they're just trying to figure out what on earth they're going to do. We've kind of the word I got was that when flights return to normal, they'll arrange it within 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm not quite sure what normal looks like, and that might be quite a while before things are normal. So yeah, we're just sitting and waiting to hear about that. Then in terms of it's not the only thing that's actually been cancelled, in that we actually had an umpires workshop that was due to be happening in Manila in the Philippines. And they were due to fly out yesterday, would have started today as we record, which is Thursday 19th. But that had to be cancelled because, again, some of the master educators were coming from the Middle East and they couldn't get there. So yeah, it's already having far-reaching impact. I'm sure you saw how the West Indies were stuck in India after the World Cup for weeks, it felt like, before they could fly home. So yeah, travel disruptions, obviously the Middle East being the hub that it is, it's pretty key for cricket. And yeah, we're already seeing the impact on that. So hopefully it doesn't continue for too much longer, and just for the people involved as much as for cricket. Obviously, there are bigger things. But one of my best friends lives in Qatar and says it's a pretty surreal experience. But hopefully everyone gets that sorted out, and it can return to some semblance of normality, and the Premier Cup can get off, because that's certainly a tournament that our women were very much looking forward to, and really were prepped and ready for. So I know a lot of the girls have worked really hard over the winter, and I know that Aya Kato Stafford, Ahilia Chandel, and Erica Toguchi Quinn all won their Premier comps this last weekend. So they're obviously all in good form. It would have been perfect to be getting on a plane around now to go and play in that. And then certainly the girls in Japan, Kurumi Ota actually moved to Sano for the whole winter and has been training throughout the winter almost every day. Her work gave her permission to work remotely, and she's been here working on her cricket, which is, it's so good to see the commitment that the girls have. And yeah, real shame. So I hope that delay isn't a significant one, and that we can get them up here pretty soon.
Yeah, let's hope that that tournament does get underway pretty soon. There's really good momentum in the women's program at the moment, isn't there? They're getting good results and good players and good buy-in. So let's hope that can get off the ground ASAP and get them to play some cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually going to be where the season starts. I mean, we'll probably get to that in another episode, but the junior girls tournaments, the under-16s, under-19s, they'll be taking place first week or two of April. So not too long now. And I know Elena Kasudanan's been working on all of that stuff. So those 8 to 14 tournaments, so 8 teams are all ready to go. There's a few players from overseas this year, but not as many as last year. So a lot of it is domestic Japan-based players, which is exciting. And yeah, obviously with the hope of a Japan under-19 or an ACC women's under-19 tournament this year, we'll hope to get a Japan women's under-19 team out in the park for the first time ever. So it's it's an exciting time for the girls programs as well, and we do want to keep that momentum going.
Fantastic. Let's have a chat about the JPL. So I think we've got the draft coming up next week, Alan.
Yes, I mean, again, we'll have to post this. Have to post this late. I'll have to put this one up on Saturday, I reckon, this episode, because, well, we want to be able to talk about the star players, don't we? That's the news that's been filtering out this week. We've been announcing them day by day. which is pretty cool. So, a lot of work has gone into signing our star players, and hopefully it brings not just a bit of excitement but a bit of quality as well, bit of stardust, and yeah, hopefully really gets people buying in and watching the tournament, and hopefully even coming to watch. That would be pretty cool. So, yeah, some big names lined up. Do you want to run through them?
Um,
Shall I take
run
that
through
one,
'em?
Toddy?
Sorry, mate. I've got them
Of
in front
course.
of me
To
here.
be fair, you're not on the inner circle, so I wouldn't necessarily expect you to have them. But
I do have the list on my phone somewhere.
I was
You
going
did
to say
send
I
it to me,
definitely
but
sent it to you.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to go with them. That's all.
Yeah, we can go with them because, like I said, we'll publish this after they've all been announced. We've announced three of them as we record. So Josh Brown's already been announced. He was first name out of the hat, and he's returning for his third year. Hopefully, his passport doesn't get destroyed the day before his flight, and he actually gets here on time this time. So yeah, great to have Brownie back. He's becoming a real sort of stalwart of Japan cricket almost. So fantastic to have him here. Paddy Dooley was announced yesterday. Karen KC, the Nepali legend. I'm particularly excited about having him come over and seeing him in action. And then I think today we'll be announcing Will Bosisto. Will's a former Australia under-19 captain. Played in the Captain Australia in the World Cup final, under-19 World Cup final. And the only guy at the under-19 World Cup level with a higher batting average than Hugo Tani Kelly. So they're the only two blokes averaging more than 200 at the under-19 World Cup. So that's cool. And then the last one is probably the biggest name of all is Dimuth Karunaratne. So 100 tests for Sri Lanka, captain's country on I don't know how many times, but yeah, he's a proper superstar coming over, and by all accounts, a very down to earth, humble, nice chap. And I think it's worth saying that all of these guys are coming at cost. They're not being paid mega bucks to come. We're just covering their flights, accommodation, giving them a bit of food money, a small meal allowance, and they're all coming just because they want to see and experience cricket in Japan. And Josh Brown loves it so much he keeps coming back, so he must be doing something right. Unfortunately, Jack Wood, his brother was getting married, so he couldn't return, and James Baisley had a baby recently, so it wasn't able to return either. But we did speak to both of those guys first, and since the announcements have started, we've been getting a lot of inquiries from a lot of cricketers around the world who are keen to come, which is absolutely fantastic, and it just shows that Japan cricket is trying to get on the map and is finding a wider sort of audience. And I hope that expansion of the JPL is something that we might be able to look at some point in the not too distant future, and bringing in more players is from that higher level would be fantastic. But I think we have to be very careful about bringing in players before we can expand, because I don't want players coming in and taking the spots of domestic players. The reality is that a lot of our national team players are based overseas. And yes, we want to help them improve, but we actually want to improve players playing locally within Japan. And actually, the amount of spaces for those players is only like two or three per team. So if you do extend that pro player uh, account to two to three players per team, then suddenly there's no domestic players able to play. So if we do extend the team to I don't know, six or eight, then maybe there might be space for that. But I'd love it to be, a 9 or 10 day tournament. But a bit of work to do before we get to that point, I think. But it would be a lot of fun, and it's yeah, really excited about the draft. That's going to be on Tuesday this week. And Daniel Beswick is going to join me for hosting that, which Daniel knows associate cricket so well. He knows the players involved, and obviously he commentated on the JPL last year. And it looks like, fingers crossed, he'll be coming back to commentate on it again this year too. So, yeah, lots to look forward to. And I think the draft is just that first stage of getting that excitement up and running, and then we can get the uniforms ordered, and we can start promoting the event proper with the players and the rosters. How do you feel about it, Toddy? I mean, you've been watching the JPL for a long time as a fan. When you see those names coming over, do you think, blimey, that wasn't the guys that were playing in it when I first saw?
No, well, it's exciting, isn't it? I mean, it's, a credit to everyone involved to get these players to come over and play. Everyone's done a lot of hard work, and as you said, trying to get the balance right between local players and overseas players is a bit of a tough one, but especially when you want to grow the competition. But I think at the moment it's in a really good sweet spot where there's, mix of talent from overseas and talent in Japan, and it's always fun when you're there and everyone turns up. And I really like seeing the local players, the joy in their face when these star cricketers come over and play. Like you generally see them, they're in awe of them. They just sit there and listen to them. They want to absorb all the knowledge, and that's what it's all about. It's quite special when you are at the ground and you do get to see it. Especially the younger players. They idolize these guys and end up following their careers and follow them all around, and it's really great to see, isn't it? It's fantastic.
It's actually, yeah, one of my favorite memories from last year. I was chatting to one of our guys who works for us now, Rahil Khanna, and he was on the same team as Jack Wood, I think, last year. They're playing both at Kansai Chargers. And Raheel was just saying, just he learned so much just by sitting next to Jack Wood, how he prepared for the game, how he responded afterwards, whether he'd done well, whether he'd done badly. He was exactly the same. Just how level he was and how sort of took things in his stride and his own he had his own routines and he built those around whatever the team needed. Whenever the coach said, right, we're going to do this, he was straight away there. But then he had his own routines that he needed to go through to make sure that he was ready to perform at his best. And I think just these little lessons that people can take just by seeing these guys in action is so good. And yeah, I'm certainly hoping that there are a few more autograph hunters at the ground this year because these guys are all players who have played at the highest level, pretty much. They've all played Big Bash or franchise leagues around the world, and obviously in the case of a couple of them, Karen KC was just at the World Cup. Like he was literally
Yeah.
just playing at the World Cup for Nepal. Um, Having played against Japan well, actually he set out that game, but he would have played against Japan, played in the same tournament in Oman. So it's pretty cool. It makes it really brings that tie, particularly the Karen one, and that like I said, he was in that Nepal squad playing against Japan in Oman 6 months ago. Then he was at the World Cup. Now he's coming to the JPL. It just ties everything together, and it makes you see kind of how close we are. And I'm fascinated to see how he goes playing over here, like all of them, but Karen particularly, as a guy who's been such a stalwart of Nepalese cricket. So yeah, it's for me, it's really exciting. It's been a lot of work. It's taken a long time to get all these guys locked in. But I mean, even speaking to them and exchanging messages, I will say a special shout out to Will Bosisto. He is so excited to come. Like, and again, this is the guy who's been on the franchise circuit for quite a long time. He's played in Nepal. I think he's played in UAE. He's played in a few different places. He's played for the Perth Scorchers, and he seems incredibly excited to play in the JPL next. So that's pretty cool when you've got these guys at that level and they are that excited about it as well. So yeah, look, I think the tournament's only going to grow and grow. I think it's only good for Japan, and like I said, I hope that the people turn up and watch the games, not just online, but at the ground and get a chance to see these guys up close, as you said, because when you spent your life watching Dimuth Karunaratne score however many Test hundreds he's got on your TV, it's pretty cool that he's then, you know, just playing at the Sana International Cricket Ground, the ground where the Sri Lankan community will be playing, it's most weekends, and they'll be familiar with it. And again, just sort of humanizing that aspect, I think is pretty special.
Yeah, I'm expecting some big crowds to come over the 3 days or 2 days and a rest day, Alan. Is that what we've got this year?
No, it's 3 days, and then the morning of the fifth is a reserved morning. So we haven't
Okay.
made it a full reserve day, just a reserve morning, because as you well know, Toddy, we do tend to get a bit of rain at this time of year.
Um, well,
And we had the window because it's a longer Golden Week this year. The holidays, the Monday and Tuesday are a holiday, so it's actually a 4-day weekend. So we thought, well, we may as well use it, but we are aware that people have to get back. So traveling back from lunchtime on that Tuesday just sort of makes sense. And also the Japan national boys, they've got to be getting ready to go straight into the ICC qualifier, which kicks off, at least for Japan, our first game isn't until the 9th. But we've got to get the boys down to Nagoya. So there's not a lot of time in between for rest and recuperation. So we'll be wanting to try and try and get everyone ready. But yeah, having that reserve day just up our sleeves just in case there is rain affected games and it does force the tournament to get pushed back in some capacity. We want to make sure we're not doing bowl offs or whatever else it might be, or even was it last year? Did we get the final last year? Was it teams winning on net run rate and league positions? And it's just yeah, I'm going to try and avoid that. Give ourselves every chance to get all the games played. So fingers crossed. I think it was 2 years ago we had that. I think last year we did get the final done, but they do start JPL 11s. They do start molding into one a little bit for me.
It's going to be a great tournament and looking forward to it. Anything else?
Yeah, I guess we should probably touch on the Women's Premier League. We'll be making some announcements about that very soon. There was a brief announcement that went up, and I got told to retract it because not all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So I won't talk about that more. But yeah, the WJPL is doing like a 14 tournament. Going to have some big names playing in that as well. So that's going to be really exciting at the end of the month. The Futures League, just to move back to pre-JPL, that will be. We've ended up reverting to 4 teams again. We were gunning for 6 teams, but we've had to accept that it's not a case of player numbers, it's a case of player availability. We've actually got the numbers that we need signing up, but given that it's 5 days, given that it's a Monday, which is a school day, there's not enough people available for every day to get 66 guys out on the field on all 5 of the days. So what we've decided to do is bring it back down to 4 teams, which just means that the standard goes up a little bit. We concentrate the talent. Logistically, obviously, it makes it a lot easier because all the games can be played at the SICG. But we do require 6 teams playing 5 matches of under 19 40 over cricket across the season to be eligible for the under 19 World Cup pathways. So we will arrange some match opportunities for those who have signed up but couldn't do it, who don't make the final selection. They'll get to play some games across the season. There's sort of under 17, under 18 teams, and we'll make sure that they play 5 matches across the season to make sure that we do meet our 6 team requirement. So yeah, a little change in the future league. We haven't announced that anyway yet, but that will be what that tournament looks like. I guess the only other thing to talk about, which we haven't put up an article on the website or anything, I've just been too weighed down, but we actually hosted the ICC East Asia Pacific Regional Conference about a month ago in February, which was pretty cool. We had the CEOs and important people from all of the members around the EAP region, along with representatives from Australia and New Zealand, plus people from the ICC development team. So Will Glenwright was here, Snehal Bardam was here. So yeah, pretty good to have everyone together in the Saksa and seeing Japan and having a look at what we're doing and getting to know those guys and girls and spending time together was really useful. Lots of things discussed, and the regional conferences I think play an important role in sort of giving us as a region an opportunity to come together and discuss some of the bigger issues and trying to help each other out. So yeah, long may that continue. It was nice to have it in Japan. Meant that we didn't have to get on a plane and fly anywhere, but it did mean there was quite a lot of logistical work to do. So that certainly kept us busy throughout February when I got back from the World Cup. So that has all weighed into slowing some things down. But yeah, it was a really good event to have and good to be able to showcase the SICG, the Creo Cup, which we hosted at that time as well, for the juniors. There was some boys and girls playing in that. And all the CEOs went and had a look at what we were doing and talked a lot about social media and the power of digital engagement. So that seems to be very much a theme for the ICC at the moment. And I think people hopefully saw that in that we had Japanese commentary for the World Cup and including the finals. So pretty cool to have one of our local commentators, Shun Hashima, was engaged doing all of that stuff for the ICC and going out to a pretty big audience. I spoke to Shun briefly, and he said that there were a lot of Japanese people in the comments saying that they were watching cricket for the first time. So, yeah, definitely really good initiative from the ICC, and good that it's having a bit of an impact. And long may that continue. I just hope Shun doesn't put his rates up and start charging me too much, so I'm priced out of the market. I need to go and find another commentator. So I'm yet to have that conversation with him. So
I'm sure it's coming.
Todd, Shun, if you're listening, please stay affordable.
Oh, that's fantastic initiative, isn't it? Having the Japanese commentary for the final and getting more Japanese people to watch cricket. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's part of where we've been. I mean, so I say we, Alex, particularly the CEO here now, Naoki Miyaji, he's been banging on at the ICC for so long that we actually need high level cricket to be able to show people in Japan what good cricket looks like. Like it's all very well showing, regional pathway events, but actually you do want to showcase the sport at its highest level. I think back to the don't know if you remember the Warner and Tendulkar matches that they did in America several years ago,
Hmm.
when they just played a whole load of sort of legends games, really, just a load of old boys rolling out of retirement and rolling their arm over and having a slog. In America, they played a three-match series, put a lot of money into it, but it wasn't cricket at its highest standard, so that's not necessarily going to capture people's imagination. Particularly when it was designed really to get existing cricket fans coming to watch their heroes of old rather than trying to
Yeah,
engage new people. And I think when you make World Cups, particularly T20 World Cups, accessible to everyone and you start putting them in native languages, that is the best way to get people seeing it and makes it so accessible and makes it so easy to learn about what the game is. Because I remember speaking to people, even new staff that we've employed, when you actually sit next to them at a game of cricket and explain what's going on, they get it very quickly. And commentary can have that same impact. So, but you've got to have it in the right language. And Japan bombed out of the World Baseball Classic at the quarterfinal stage, so couldn't defend their titles. So, cricket's on the way. Sorry, Shohei Ohtani, you got to step aside. We're coming.
they did, and I saw that it was on Netflix in Japan, and all these people canceled their subscription the minute that they got beat and lost a lot of money. Netflix, so interesting there. There was a blew up a little bit on X that I saw, so it was, yeah,
At least,
disappointed for the local baseball fans, I think there, Alan.
at least they lost to the eventual champions. Venezuela knocked out the USA as well, so it was a bit of a surprise result, I think. But anyway,
Definitely.
less about baseball, more about cricket. I think that's about it, Toddy. I think we've covered everything, haven't we?
We have.
Cool. Well, look, we'll be back to talk in the new season. Do tune in. Anyone who's listening, the draft will be on YouTube this Tuesday, so keep an eye on the JCA YouTube account and our social media for that. And then the new season will be upon us before we know it. Once again, thanks to Todd. Thanks for you guys for listening, and we will see you next time. Otsuka sama deshita.